गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय राधा रमेश बिहारी राधा रस बिहारी राधे जय गौरांगी बैंगलोरीश्वर गौरांगी जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा माई जय सुदर्शन जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। बहुत प्रेमानंदे हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय। Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara His Divine Grace Love. Abhay Charanaram Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtottara His Divine Grace Love Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य श्रीलास ठाकुर की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ छठ गोस्वामी प्रभुगण की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। कावेरी माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees, हरे कृष्णा। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories and glories and glories and glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतं सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं गायत्रीं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदन्तारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. So we continue our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 23. Allow me to share my screen. Chapter 4, chapter 3, and verse number 23 for today's discussion. And today is also the most auspicious Ekadashi, so we will also discuss a little bit about Ekadashi as well. Svatvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Sabditam Yate Tatra Pumyam Aparvata Sattve Tasmin Bhagavan Vasudeva Yado Prajame Man Nam Savidyate Sattvam Shuddham Vasudeva Sabditam Yate Tatra Pumanam Parvatam Sattve च तस्मिन् भगवान् वासुदेवा यदोक्षजे नाम सविद्यते सत्त्वं विशुद्धं वासुदेव श्रापितं यतीयते तत्र पुमानपार्थ सत्त्वे च तस्मिन् भगवान् वासुदेवा यदोक्षजे मे नाम सविद्यते. Word to word translation. Sattvam, consciousness. Vishuddham, pure. Vasudeva, Vasudeva. Shabditam, known as. Yad, because. Iyate is revealed. Tatra, there. Puman, the Supreme Person. Apavrata, without any covering. Sattve, in consciousness. Cha, and. Tasmin, in that. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva, Vasudeva. He, because. Adhokshaja, transcendental. Me, by me. namas, with obeisances, Vidyate, worshipped. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation: I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure consciousness, pure Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, is revealed without any covering. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The living entity is constitutionally pure. Asango hi ayam purushaha. In the Vedic literature, it is said that the soul is always pure and uncontaminated by material attachment. The identification of the body with the soul is due to misunderstanding. As soon as one is fully Krishna conscious, it is to be understood that one is in its pure, original, constitutional position. The state of existence is called Shuddha Sattva, which means that it is transcendental to the material qualities. Since this Shuddha Sattva existence is under the direct action of the internal potency, in the state of activities of material consciousness, stop. For example, when iron is put into fire, it becomes warm and then red hot. Although it is iron, it acts like fire. Similarly, when copper is surcharged with electricity, its action as copper stops. It acts as electricity. In Bhagavad Gita 14.26 also confirms that anyone who engages in unadulterated devotional service to the Lord is at once elevated to the position of pure Brahman. Mama chayo vibharicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samtiya brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Therefore, Shuddha Sattva is described in this verse is the transcendental position, which is technically called Vasudeva. Vasudeva is also the name of the person from whom Krishna appears. This verse explains that the pure state is called Vasudeva because in that state, Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealed without any covering. To execute unadulterated devotional service, therefore, one must follow the rules and regulations of devotional service without desire to gain material profit by fruitive activities or mental speculation. In pure devotional service, one simply serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a matter of duty, without reason and without being impeded by material condition. This is called Shuddha Sattva or Vasudeva, because in that stage, the Supreme Person, Krishna, is revealed in the heart of the devotee. Srila Jiva Goswami has very nicely described this Vasudeva or Shuddha Sattva in Bhagavad Sandarbha. He explains that Astotra Ashat 108 is added to the name of the spiritual master to indicate one who is situated in Shuddha Sattva or in the transcendental state of Vasudeva. The word Vasudeva is also used for other purpose. For example, Vasudeva also means one who is everywhere or all pervading. The sun is called Vasudeva Shabditam. The word Vasudeva may be utilized for different purposes, but whatever purpose we adopt, Vasudeva means that all pervading or localized Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 7.19, it is also stated Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Factual realization is to understand Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and surrender unto Him. Vasudeva is the ground wherein Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is revealed. When one is free from the contamination of material nature and is situated in pure Krishna consciousness or in the Vasudeva state, Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality, is revealed. This state is also called as Kaivalya, which means pure consciousness. Jnanam Satvikam Kaivalyam. When one is situated in pure transcendental knowledge, one is situated in Kaivalya. Therefore, Vasudeva also means Kaivalya, a word which is generally used by impersonalists. Impersonal Kaivalyam is not the last stage of realization. In Krishna consciousness, Kaivalya, when one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one is successful. In that pure state, by hearing, chanting, remembering, etc., because of the development of knowledge of Krishna, of signs of Krishna, one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All these activities are under the guidance of internal energy of Supreme Lord. The action of the internal potency is also described in this verse as apavrata, free from any covering. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His name, His form, His quality, His paraphernalia, etc., being transcendental are beyond the material nature. It is not possible to understand any one of them with the material senses. When the senses are purified by the discharge of the pure devotional service, Rishikeshena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. The pure sense can see Krishna without covering. Now, one may inquire that since factually the devotee has the same material existential body, how is it possible that the same materialistic eyes become purified by devotional service? The example as stated by Lord Chaitanya is that devotional service cleanses the mirror of mind. In a clean mirror, one can see one's face very distinctly. Similarly, simply by cleansing the mirror of our mind, one can have a clear conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.8, Abhayasya Yoga Yuktena. By executing one's prescribed duties in devotional service, Chesasa Nanyam Kamina, or simply by hearing about God and the chanting about Him, if one's mind is always engaged in chanting and hearing and is not allowed to go elsewhere, one can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead as confirmed by Lord Chaitanya by the Bhakti Yoga process beginning from hearing, chanting. One can cleanse the heart and the mind, and thus one can clearly see the face of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva said that since his heart was always filled with the conception of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of the Supreme Lord's presence within the heart and the mind, he was always offering obeisances unto Supreme Lord. In other words, Lord Shiva is always in trance, samadhi. This samadhi is not under the control of the devotee, it is under the control of Vasudeva. For the entire internal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead acts under his order. Of course, the material energy also acts by his order, but his direct will is specifically executed through the spiritual energy. Thus, by the spiritual energy, he reveals himself. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.6. Sambhavani Atma Mayaya. Atma Mayaya means internal potency. By his sweet will, he reveals himself by his internal potency, being satisfied by the transcendental loving service of the devotee. The devotee never commands, my dear Lord, please come here so that I can see you. It is not the position of the devotee to command the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come before him and to dance before him. There are so many so-called devotees who command the Lord to come before them and dance. The Lord, however, is not subject to anyone's command. But if he is satisfied by one's pure devotional activities, he reveals himself. Therefore, a meaningful word to this verse is adokshaja, for that indicates that the activities of our material senses will fail to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by attempt of one's speculative mind. But if one desires, he can subdue all the material activities of these senses. And the Lord, by manifesting his spiritual energy, can reveal himself to the pure devotees. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead reveals himself to the pure devotees, the devotees has no longer other duty than to offer him respectful obeisances. The absolute truth reveals himself to the devotee in his form. He is not formless. Vasudeva is not formless. For it is stated in this verse that as soon as the Lord reveals himself, the devotee offers his obeisances. Obeisances are offered to a person, not to anything impersonal. One should not accept the Mayavada interpretation that Vasudeva is impersonal, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Prapadyate, one surrenders to a person, not to impersonal non-duality. Whenever there is a question of surrendering or offering obeisances, there must be an object of surrender or obeisances. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to chapter 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the text canto 4, and the verse number is 23. Om Tat Tat Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the reading or understanding from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 3, and text number 23 that we're reading today. This is the conversation between Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva. And we all know the background. Prior to this, Shiva had gone to the palace of Daksha on his invitation, but he did not realize that Shiva was a great elevated personality and insulted him. So that's the background to this. This is another yajna which is being conducted and where Mother Sati is inclined to go, but then she's asking this question to her husband, Lord Shiva, saying that if you wish, we can go. So in the earlier verse, Srila Prabhupada very nicely describes that, mothers are very smart. They would want, decisions to be taken through you so that, they don't own the responsibilities at the same time. You don't blame them for anything. So that's the way that Mother Parvati spoke to Lord Shiva, saying that if you intend to go or if you wish to go, we can go. There's a big yajna which is happening. But at the same time, here in this verse, we will read the conversation continues and Lord Shiva is here very clearly telling Mother Parvati or Mother Sati, saying that, what am I always engaged in? He says, I'm always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada very nicely describes here in the translation, saying that Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, is revealed without any covering. So it's a complete open, revelation of the Lord, and he's called the Vasudeva, and that's how Srila Prabhupada describes the two. When one is in pure consciousness, it is also called as Krishna consciousness. He gets the revelation of the Lord, and the Lord can be seen. Now, many people say that, if God exists, let him come in front of me. Well, Krishna is not their order taker, or the Lord is not their order taker to come in front of them. Forget the Lord, nobody is anybody's order taker. Today, even if you ask, go out of any building and say, oh, you come out, they will not come out. Why should they come out? They are not their order taker. So, and the Supreme Personality, as we always refer to, Supreme is the most exalted. He's the complete, and he's supreme. He's among, or not he's among, he's above all the others. So it is very important for us to understand that, he's not an order taker. So somebody comes and tells you that show me God if he's there. God comes by his own sweet will. He doesn't come by the will of somebody who commands him to come. And he also doesn't dance on somebody else's instruction saying that you dance. But at the same time, by his free will and by the dint of the capture of his devotee, he can dance. We've seen many places, we have had examples where the Lord is serving, he's doing the most menial service. Yeah. There was this Brahmana who was in South India, and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited, he saw this Brahmana holding the Bhagavad Gita upside down and crying. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought, oh, he's reading some pastimes of the Lord, and that's how he's crying. So he's actually left in trance. But then when he asked the Brahmana, he says, no, I'm not crying because of some transcendental pastime of the Lord. I am actually crying, looking at the Ratha, how Krishna can become the charioteer of his devotee. He can take such a menial service for his devotee. So if one wants to capture Krishna, or if one wants to really, have the association of Krishna, he needs to capture him by his pure devotional service. And here again, Srila Prabhupada, in the previous, when I said, Srila Prabhupada describes that pure devotional service means Krishna consciousness, or pure devotion means Krishna consciousness, or pure consciousness. Pure consciousness means Krishna conscious. Also, in the other example that we see in, in the friendship of Krishna, there is this Brahmana boy, Vipra, and he wants to go to Dwarika. He actually is staying in a place very close to Dwarika, very poor Brahmana, but who grew up with, in his childhood, he spent a lot of time with Krishna. He helped Krishna in a lot of things. So, because he is very pure, when he goes to Dwarika, and when Krishna knows that, Vipra has come, he runs down all the way. He opens the door of the palace, and without a footwear, he runs down in that place, offers him his own, Singhasan, offers him his own place to sit down, and washes his lotus feet. And what is in return that this Brahmana is giving him? Nothing. He carries some chipped rice, dried chipped rice, which also is not available at his house. He has actually borrowed it from the neighborhood. So Krishna can be actually captured by our devotional service, not by the dint of our opulence or our knowledge, or or any of such external things. So it is very important that we always look at how can we capture Krishna. And when we mean capture, capture means how can we delight him? How can we make him happy? It is only by pure dint of devotional service that one can get Krishna. Substance-wise, we are all very pure, but instance-wise, we are all impure. As a part and parcel of Krishna, we are all very pure. But we have to identify ourselves with being pure and being influenced by these external modes of material nature, the three modes of material nature, which is the gunas, what we call sattva, rajo, and tamo. We get contaminated. We follow the instructions given by the acharyas, the gurus, and the rules and regulations, and then we gradually decrease the effect of mode of nature. Actually, when we are born, we are surrounded by these three modes of nature. Some may be in some higher quantity, some may be in some little lower quantity, but predominantly, a human being has all the three modes of material nature at any given point of time or every given point of time. There is no way that somebody can say I'm over and above the modes of material nature. And if one becomes over and above the material nature, that means he is in Shuddha Sattva. This is what Srila Prabhupada here is giving the example, and Lord Shiva is also talking about, saying that one needs to come to the stage of Shuddha Sattva. And when one comes to Shuddha Sattva stage, he is actually taking charge of himself. We can actually change the nature. It takes some time. Yeah. And they're designed actually to gradually change the internal environment around us. So when we start chanting the holy name of the Lord, initially we feel not many changes. Then slowly you start, feeling the taste of chanting. Then over a period of time, you start, offering whatever you cook at home to the Lord. And once you start offering and eating the Mahaprasad, honoring the Mahaprasad, then you start developing the interest for Mahaprasad, and then you slowly start giving away the bhoga that you would eat outside. So initially, a devotee starts giving away. If he is not a vegetarian, then he first gives up the non-vegetarian desire that one has. Secondly, he gives up his desire even to eat onion, garlic, and mushroom. What we say is not, which should not be. It's in the mode of ignorance and passion. So he gives up that. He gives up his intoxications like tea, coffee as well. So slowly he starts changing himself. Gradually changes, and then he starts making his environment around him with all those changes. Though the soul is completely pure, but we are all contaminated by the external factors around us. Now, how the soul is affected by modes of nature? So, Srila Prabhupada gives us very nicely, saying that, in short, he has given us everything. He doesn't give you a big list of, 100 pages where he says why illicit sex is not good. So he just gives you saying that do's and don'ts. So he says follow 4 regulative principles and chant Hare Krishna. These are do's. And don'ts is don't break the regulative principles. The 4 regulative principles cannot be broken. That is illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. So these are don'ts. And do's is chant Hare Krishna and follow 4 regulative principles. So Shuddha Sattva is basically in an internal environment. Like for fish, the water is an internal environment. Like that, Shuddha Sattva, as living entity, Shuddha Sattva is an internal environment for all of us. Rules and regulations are made for living entities to follow, to go beyond Shuddha Sattva. Yeah. Simply execute the duties in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada has made this very, very simple statement. He said, simply execute the duties in Krishna consciousness. What is my duty? That's a question. It is, my duties are designed around Krishna consciousness lifestyle changes. Our goal is to change our consciousness. The fundamental change is to realize that we are not this body. That's the basic, the starting point, the fundamental that we call in changing our lifestyle or changing our consciousness is first is to realize that we are not this body. Our memory is there in our consciousness. And the idea is all about false self. I, me, myself, I'm a cat, I'm a dog. Nor are you a dog, nor can you be a cat. But you have to identify. Just because you are identifying as I am, the potency of being there, that is where it is. It is like a drama. In a drama, you are capable of playing a role of a beggar. You are capable of playing a role of a king. You are capable of playing a role of the lead artist. You can make anything. So life is like a drama, but his actual position is what I am not this body, which is what one needs to realize. Our original being is the potency, that is constitutional being, is servitor of Krishna. Jivera Swarupoi, Krishnera Nityadas. That's our servitor attitude that one needs to follow, and that's the art position that we need to follow. When I identify myself with the body, it is that misunderstanding. When one identifies himself with the soul, he's in Suddha Sattva state. So please realize, when you are in this stage where you are identifying yourself with the soul, you say, I am the soul, eternal, never dying, then you are in Shuddha Sattva state. But the moment you realize that I am this body, then that's the misunderstanding that we have. We are into the misunderstanding stage. And we have to create an environment which is free from ignorance, which is more important. So when only one comes into that Shuddha Sattva stage, he can serve Krishna in that pure sense. Now our Vedic literature also very clearly says soul is pure. There is no contamination. By false identification, we get contaminated. I'm so and so. I'm the X, I'm the Y, I'm the boss of so and so company, I'm the owner of this company, or I am, this child's father, I'm this lady's husband. No. These are the false identification that we get contaminated with. The identity is actually connected to the functionality of the identity. When you say that I'm the owner of this company, it is only function, of yours to identify with that company. Yeah, it is only connected with your function. It is actually soul's quality to be. When I say be, once you identify with being, then there is desiring to be, thinking, feeling, willing, acting, or doing, and then experiencing it. That is how the process goes. The soul has got a capacity of feeling, thinking, willing, doing, and then finally, getting the rasa, enjoying. That is how we identify ourselves. We can observe this now. It always says, Aham Brahmasmi. Yeah. Soul does all this, thinking, willing. Yeah. In Bhagavad Gita also 3.7, if we read the shloka. It says Prakriti Kriyamanani Guna Karmani Sarvasa Ahankara Vimudatma Kataham iti manute. There is the spirit soul is bewildered by the influence of false ego. Thinks himself to be doer of all the activities, and that are actually carried out by three modes of material nature. We feel that we are doing all these activities. No, they are all actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. Depending on what mode of material nature is predominant in us, we do all the activities. Many times we think, there are two children born in the same family, maybe even twins. One is very egoistic, one is very, short-tempered, one is very, attached to his property, one is very attached to his belongingness or whatever is his possession. On the contrary, the other brother is not attached, he is detached, he is quiet, he is calm. Now, this happens because of the modes of material nature, the percentage of each mode of material nature that one is. And in the material world, this thinking, desiring, willing, identifying, etc. itself is a move. Once it is all overdone, the misidentification. In a movie, if you really start looking at it, one goes to the movie and then he starts identifying himself. He starts thinking about like how the hero is acting. He also desires to own the car that the hero is driving. Or, he starts identifying like the movie. But when the movie is over, the misidentification with the hero is also gone. Likewise, if you in a mixer put apple juice, if you put apple, then you will get apple juice. So what you identify is what you get. So if you start identifying yourself with a hero, then you also start doing activities like him. So one needs to identify himself with the soul rather than identifying with the body. If you are feeling as a man, then it is a man's feeling. If you identify yourself as a man, yeah. Now, how purification happens? The goal is very clear in Krishna consciousness is to associate with Krishna. It's a wholesale transformation process. It's not a retail transformation process, as one of the devotees said. It's a complete transformation process. The goal is very clear, is to associate with Krishna. And how do we associate with Krishna? You have to associate with devotees. Once you start associating with the devotees, you start developing that consciousness. And as we move along the path of Krishna consciousness, we start associating with devotees. And once you associate with devotees, you associate with Krishna also. Yeah. Vaikuntha embassy. This is one word that the devotee used. Vaikuntha is one place where you come into the environment, and that environment is actually designed to immerse yourself into Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva is a state where one feels associated with the Lord. When one goes back home, go to Goloka Vrindavan, he is associating himself with the Lord. So this is what Srila Prabhupada wants to drive home today in this shloka. He gives this example through the example of Lord Shiva, who says, I'm always engaged in offering obeisance to Lord Vasudeva in the pure consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, is revealed without any covering. So one needs to really move to this Shuddha Sattva stage to really associate with Krishna, really serve him personally, and become a pure devotee. So what we will do is we will end our conversation on the shloka here. We will also read a little bit about today's Ekadashi. Today is a very auspicious Ekadashi. It's called Yogini Ekadashi. And I would like to narrate the pastime of Yogini Ekadashi. These questions were asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj to Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna describes about this Ekadashi which occurs during the dark fortnight of the month of Ashad, the first Ekadashi in the month of Ashad. So he says, how do you describe this Ekadashi? So he says, O king, Krishna is answering this to Yudhishthira, saying that, Ekadashi, when somebody is fasting, he gets the benefit of it. And this is the best thing about fasting on this Ekadashi, which comes during the dark part of the month of Ashad. And it is known as Yogini Ekadashi. It removes all kinds of sinful reactions and towards supreme liberation, which is what we are actually looking at it. So there was a king of Alkapuri known as Kuvera. Kuvera, we all know that he is the treasurer of the Devas. He is the Khajanchi. Yeah. And he was a very great devotee of Lord Shiva. He was employed, uh, he had employed a name called, he had employed a person called Hema Mali as his personal gardener. And this Hema Mali would take care of, everything, of his garden and get, beautiful flowers to be offered to Lord Shiva. He also had a beautiful wife called Swara Upavati. His name is Swara Upavati. And this lady had, this Mataji had large eyes, enchanting eyes she had. So Himamali's daily activity was to visit the Manasarovar and get back flowers for his master Kuvera, who would in turn use them to offer in the service of Lord Shiva. One day, what happens is after picking up the flowers, Himamali went to his wife instead of returning directly to Kuvera. He's supposed to fulfill the duties of giving the flowers so that his master could offer it to Lord Shiva. But then he was absorbed in the living affairs of the bodily nature with his wife, and he forgot to return to Kuvera. And while Kuvera started his worship of Lord Shiva, he realizes that Hema Mali is not come back and he has not got the flowers. So he sends his messenger saying that find out where is Hema Mali, where are the flowers which are to be offered to Lord Shiva. And then this personal servants go and look for Hema Mali, then find out that he's spending time with his wife in his house and he's not doing his service. So Kuvera becomes extremely angry, and then he immediately gets Imam Ali to meet him. And knowing what he has done, that he did not take care of his duty, and he was meditating on his wife's body, he actually curses him. He says, "Now you will suffer from white leprosy and become separated from your beloved wife, and you're fit only for that kind of a suffering. And you're supposed to be a low-born fool." And he tells him that leave this place immediately and go to the lower planets to suffer. So you see, he's in the higher planetary systems of Kuvera. They can travel from one place to another place very easily. He is actually thrown because he committed this offense of not getting the flowers, not worship of Lord Shiva. And so Himamali fell down from Alkapuri and becomes ill with terrible affliction of white leprosy. When he actually gets up, he is in the midst of a dense, fearful forest where there is nothing to eat or drink. Then he passed days in misery, unable to sleep at night because of the pain. He suffered both winter and summer season because it's either very cold or very hot. But because of he continuously worshipping Lord Shiva himself with faith, his consciousness remained pure. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Although implicated by the sin and its reactions, he remembered his past life because of his piety, because he was worshipping Lord Shiva. After wandering in for some time in the forest, he goes on to the mountain, and he eventually comes across the Himalaya mountains, and where he meets Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya Rishi is the best of the sadhus, and it is said that Markandeya Rishi's life extends to 7 days of Brahma. You can think of it, how long it is. So Markandeya Rishi was seated very peacefully in his ashram and looking as effulgent as second Brahma. Hemamali was feeling very sinful, and he stood at a distance and offers his obeisances. And then Markandeya Rishi saw him and called him, and he says, "What sinful activities did you do to earn this dreadful, white leprosy affliction?" So Hemamali gives him the complete description of what had actually happened, painfully and, with actually nature. He gives all this uh, description that he was serving Kuvera, and one day he didn't get the flowers, and he was negligent about his duties, and then he went to his wife, and he was trying of, having the bodily pleasure. So Markandeya Rishi, as always, the devotees of the Lord are very, very merciful. And that's why they are called, as the Lord is called Bhaktavatsala, so are his devotees. So Markandeya Rishi replied, saying that now because you've told me the complete truth without, hiding anything, I shall tell you that if you fast on this particular Ekadashi, which is known as Yogini Ekadashi, which comes during the dark fortnight of the month of Ashada, you will be freed from this terrible curse. So Hemamali, please, fell down at the ground and completely gratitude offered his humble obeisances to Markandeya Rishi and told him that please go and fast on this Ekadashi. So he actually fasts on this Ekadashi, and by the influence of the Ekadashi fasting, he again becomes a handsome yaksha, and he returns back home where he lived happily ever after with his wife. So Lord Krishna is actually concluding at the end when he's talking about this to Yudhishthir Maharaj, saying that, so you can really see that fasting on Yogini Ekadashi is very powerful and auspicious. Whatever merit one obtains by feeding 88,000 Brahmins is also obtained by simply observing the strict fast of Yogini Ekadashi. For one who fasts on the sacred Ekadashi, the Ekadashi Devi destroys the heaps of past sinful reactions and makes him most pious. So this is where the description of the Yogini Ekadashi comes, that is given by Krishna as to how Hema Mali, who was afflicted by white leprosy, is cured, and he again gets back his root or original form as Yaksha and goes back into the higher planetary systems. So we will end the session today. We've gone through the shloka for today, 4.3.23, and also we discussed on Yogini Ekadashi. Thank you very much for your patient hearing, and please pardon me if I have committed any offense while speaking on the subject. And if there are any comments, please make the comments. And if there are any questions, I will try to answer them. Thank you very much. And I also thank the temple management to give me this opportunity on this auspicious day to speak something about Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amala Puran. One needs to be very fortunate to either hear or speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are all fortunate that because of the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada that we've got this opportunity to hear and speak about Srimad Bhagavatam. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. I'll try and answer them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandava Pranam, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavats.
Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Thank you. Prabhuji, please help me understand in the purport, like Prabhupada says, Vasudeva is also the name of a person from whom Krishna appears.
Yes.
So, how do you understand this, Prabhuji? Vasudeva is also the name of a person from whom Krishna appears.
So there are very many names of Krishna. You can call him Krishna, you can call him Kaliyadaman, you can call him by various names. So Vasudeva, what does Vasudeva mean? Vasudeva means the son of Vasu. Yeah. So that's another name of Krishna which is given to him. So Krishna actually appears, and his name is also Vasudeva, and he also appears from Vasudeva, is the understanding that we've been given by Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji. I got it. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai
Prabhu. If there are any other questions, I'll be happy to take them. Otherwise, we can complete the class. We have just arrived at the end of the session. So thank you very much, and wishing you all a wonderful Yogini Ekadashi. We request all the devotees to fast today and chant as many rounds as possible, read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. The day is very, very auspicious. The Ekadashi is also very auspicious. We can all focus our consciousness at the lotus feet of Krishna. Thank you very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari.